Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining today, and thank you for those that are watching us in the recorded version. Appreciate you joining our Toast Point of Sale Reports to Data Models webinar here. Before we get too far, thank you for those that are partner, customers, advisors, employees, and everybody that we interact with. We understand it's an honor and a pleasure to be able to work together to help you figure out your data journey, maybe guide you on your data journey, but really that overall partnership together. Thank you. We couldn't have done it without you. We look forward to doing great things with you going forward. This particular webinar is part of a larger Toast webinar series that we've been doing. All of these are recorded out on social media. And whether you're joining us or watching this for the first time, there is no exact sequential order you need to go. You don't have to watch any of the other prior webinars, but we do encourage you to check out the one or ones that you feel are going to be most beneficial relative to your journey. So let's jump a little bit further into what we're going to be discussing here today. But before we do that, I'm Mike Jellin, been in the data analytics space for a couple of decades now, really helping organizations like yourself maximize the data that they have and really to take that data and turn it into an asset that not only lets you look back at your data and the experience to be able to understand and see what are some of those patterns and trends, but then to look forward and to predict and to make decisions now that impact your future, your restaurant's future, your customer future, your employees' future by leveraging data. So when you think of out of the box standard reporting within Toast, yes, there's some very good kind of starting point information all about your Toast world, what data has been put into Toast. You think of whether that's sales, and then using color to be able to determine, well, is it trending in the right direction from an increase or decrease? So whether that's color or there's an arrow indication for those that are perhaps colorblind, that makes this valuable for various audiences. So you can see some trends and some patterns, whether that's about sales, could be about your labor cost and which way that is going. So, and then when you think of sales increasing, that's a good thing. But then when you see labor increasing, well, that isn't necessarily a good thing unless you're purposely, maybe you've added another meal time. Instead of a breakfast lunch, maybe you're not open for dinner, or for whatever reason you've expanded your restaurant location. Now you have an outdoor patio that's been completed. Perhaps you have a new addition. You moved into a new location, and so therefore, naturally those labor costs will increase. And in that case, that's a good thing. So there's the data does tell a story, but the data by itself doesn't always layer in. Did you open up a new part of the restaurant? Did you close down a part of the restaurant? Did you add a new dining option? Did you remove a new dining option? Were there more days in 1 month compared to the prior month? Did your hours change? Like all these things are variables that don't necessarily indicate when, I looked at a particular number within Toast to be able to say, is that number really indicative of all the other data endpoints that you have to work with? And you can see that over a particular duration, individual week, interesting. But then to be able to look days of the month, month over month, year over year comparison, so you get that true same store sales comparison. Locations, restaurants have been open for at least 13 months, so that you can do a true look back over that longer 1+ year period of time. So a good starting point within Toast. However, Within Toast, we do have the ability to get out a lot of information, a lot of detailed information about Toast, which is great. And this is all, especially for those watching this that are into the Uber level of details. You think of all the transactional level information. So every order that comes in, what's the breakdown of the menu, and then what are all the items on the menu, and so that bill of material, or the bomb explosion, you could call it, to be able to say what are all the items on that particular menu, and what did people order. All that detail is available to you, within Toast, but really from a back-end perspective, accessing that data through an API. Which, for some of you that say, "Oh my goodness, I don't know, Mike, what you just talked about with this API and the back end," check out one of our other webinars. We'll dive into a lot more details around what that means and entails. But most importantly is the takeaway. You have the ability to get all of that transactional level of detail from Toast, and to centralize that data into a database or data location so you can mesh that up with other data sources. So when you think of, all right, I've meshed up I have my data centralized. Well, how do I make sense of all the data? Data's in these different sources. Well, we build what is called the data model. And so this is a general term where it's all about organizing your data. So whether that data is in Toast, it's in MarketMan, perhaps you've been doing some ad buying through Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Google Ads, what have you, those are different data sources of data, very valuable and rich data unto themselves. But you want to take that data to the next level by combining that data together. And the way they do that is through a data model. So very, very simple example. A house has many windows. All right, great. Or a cat has two eyes. But so these are the types of events that a data model can help foreshadow and tell you what has happened. And it's really this facility, a data model. Oh my goodness, this is very much IT speak. Sure, it's finance and IT speak. However, it's the way that data at the end of the day is the lifeblood of every organization. So the business is going to have questions about the data, about the operations, about their customer, about their employees, about the restaurant locations. But there needs to be a mechanism in order to help answer those questions for the business. And that's where IT comes in, or technical folks will come in to be able to say, all right, get this API, I'm going to collect the data, I'm going to build this data model. So therefore, we can build out the appropriate analytics and reporting. So when you think of a data model, when we talk about, is really to simplify all those tables that we were looking at earlier, to reduce the redundancy in the data, so that the data is stored, so that you can query the data using natural language. And so for those of you that are keen on the artificial intelligence spot, that you want to be able to ask questions of your data. Well, that's great. So you want to interact with the data using AI. However, not everybody's going to know what questions to even ask. So that's where you start building a dashboard and some of these common reports that, whether it's your restaurant manager, restaurant operations, if you have multiple locations, you of course are going to have corporate type of folks that are overlooking multiple locations. But even if you have one restaurant location, you're still going to have similar questions, maybe not at the same scale, to be able to, hey, I want to optimize my employees, per shift or per hour of the day. I want to be able to maximize my inventory. So one, make sure I order enough inventory, but then two, the inventory that I order, I want to make sure I use it in that timely manner. And naturally, sure, you can come up with creative dishes and ways to discount, different raw ingredients. However, that is more of a reactive, oh my goodness, I over ordered and now I need to get creative. Well, you want to be upfront and figure out what is the minimum that I want to order versus having to get overly creative. Because naturally margins are very, very important. Restaurants operate in thin margins from a food perspective. Understand that beverage and adult beverages is where that margin is really made at the end of the day. However, you don't want to give away all your margin on your food, and then hopefully you sell enough alcohol in order to make up for it. The hopeful and wish, as any operator of a business, is not a great way to move forward. So when you think of a data model for Toast, and so when you say data model, well, let's look at this from a logical perspective. So naturally, you're going to have employees, and those employees are going to have a job, and they're going to be at a particular restaurant or maybe restaurants. And then there's a menu. So things that are, we're not counting anything here. We're just saying, who are the employees? What are the jobs? What are the restaurants? What are the menu items? But then you're going to want to look at some of your metrics. Okay, let's look at orders. So the things in the pink. Orders, all right, you can have employees are going to have orders, a particular job that employee has. Servers are going to have orders where someone in the back of the house is not going to have orders. They're going to work on orders and to prepare the orders themselves, but the employees, at least the ones that are servers, bartenders, they're going to be the ones that are entering in those orders. And so you want to be able to slice and dice the orders by employees, jobs, restaurants, menu, to look at counts. How many times is this being ordered? What sort of revenue is coming in? What's the average ticket size? What's the average discount for this? How much alcohol versus non-alcohol is being ordered? And then you want to be able to, to look at, from a payment perspective, how are payments coming in? Is it cash, credit, a combination? What shifts is this happening on? You obviously are looking at from a time entry. So it's this Rubik's Cube of ways to slice and dice the data so that you can create metrics to be able to say, well, here is, the number of hours, this number of hours equated to the amount of pay. A lot of organizations or a lot of restaurants now are keeping track of tips because they now need to pay the taxes on that. But you need a way to do that. So great. That works wonderful within Toast. But then let's add in, all right, I did some Google ad buying in order to get customers to come in to dine with me. Well, perhaps you don't know the customer, but maybe you had an offering that was out there. And ideally, if that offering is, hey, sign up for membership, come on in, or sign up for a free members club, come into our location, present this coupon for free dessert, for example, the first time. Great. Those folks come in, you're able to identify them, right from the beginning or that first transaction, knowing that someone that comes in for the very first time, they have a wonderful and amazing dining experience with you. They're going to be more likely to come back a second time. Well, how do you cater and how do you deliver an experience to those folks if you don't even know who they are? Well, one way you can do that is through what we're talking about here by having some sort of an offering, but you want to be able to track that offering. And you want to make sure that the offering isn't overly generous. An overly generous offering, aka a discount, a free something, well, people will be only loyal to that free something. However, if you're able to figure out how do I get somebody to come back because they're having such a great experience, I'm able to track that. And by the fourth time they have that wonderful experience, now you have them hooked 4 times in a relatively short period of time. They're going to start telling their friends, their family, and you'll have a customer for the long term here. But that's a journey, and you need to use data in order to have that experience. Yes, they also need to have a positive experience. So your employees need to be trained and educated on, hey, here's what we're doing. It takes 4 times. Here's what we're going to do each time that person comes in. We're going to do something a little bit different because we want that to be a long-term customer. Your restaurants are serving your community. You're all very local and you care about the community, even outside your restaurant. So you want to give back and you want to be part of that community, especially when you think of, well, how do we engage with giving back? Sure, it's easy if you want. If somebody comes in, a youth group says, "Hey, I want a donation." Well, just to give a donation of $50 or $100, it doesn't really. That's not a mutually beneficial arrangement. It's all right. If I'm going to give dollars, what do I get in return? Do I get advertising at all of your games or your events or your website? And how are you communicating out to your hundreds of folks within that particular youth group, what have you? So that there is, it's not just, hey, here's $50 or $100 to support the youth organization. It's, hey, I'd also like you to give back in regards to just let people know that I'm supporting your youth group because I want to be part of the community. I want others to know that I'm part of the community without me just saying, hey, I'm part of the community over here. Or perhaps you have different sponsorship nights of, all right, the youth group, yes, I'll donate 15% of sales back to your organizations. However, you have to drive people into the restaurant. You do the advertising and get butts in the seats, and let's agree on a particular date or maybe a series of dates for patronage. And you're able to have those types of relationships. So when you think of, go look at the data here. What does this data look like when we're talking about these tables and this data model? So when you think of, all right, you've landed your data into your centralized data location. Now you're able to run your different queries on this data to be able to start looking at the raw data. So now, go ahead, we'll run this query. So we see this raw data, and we're just using SQL. And again, one of the other webinars, we talked about leveraging SQL. So feel free to watch that and replay. And you'll be able to understand a bit more of what is SQL and how do you use SQL. With these data models, you start building and you're able to surmise data, able to get further insights. And especially if you start pulling in other data sources of data. Think of Google, for example, Google Ads. All right, what does that impact out there? And go from there. So all very easy to do and very simple. So in order to get started, definitely leverage signing up for an account at datalakehouse.io. You can connect your Toast data and your other data sources in order to centralize your data, build that data model, and then start building your reporting. It goes very, very fast. This is not a heavy lift and shift. You're not installing any software. You're just leveraging, much like what you have your data for Toast is in the cloud. You have your other data sources that you can connect to. You may have a spreadsheet of data. Great. You can bring that data as well into that centralized location in order to build that data model. So we'd love to be able to chat with you more about your exact scenario and situation that you're looking to advance forward. Feel free to reach out to us directly on our website, datalakehouse.io. Also sign up for your account. We have a free trial account as well at datalakehouse.io. If you have any questions that you want to explore further, feel free to reach out to us also on our website or drop us a line directly, and we'd love to chat with you. But thank you for watching today, for watching on replay, and we look forward to catching you next time at the next webinar.